You ever wonder if there's like a blueprint for the church hidden somewhere in the Bible? Well, today we're diving into an analysis by theologian Dr. Robert A. Peterson. He argues that the Gospel of Luke gives us exactly that, a foundational plan for the New Testament people of God.
So what is that blueprint? What are the absolute essentials? The non-negotiable pillars that are supposed to hold up the entire structure of the church. All right, let's really get into it. So Dr. Peterson's idea is this. Luke wasn't just writing a biography of Jesus. Nope. He was deliberately choosing and arranging key stories to spell out the identity and the mission of the community that would come after him. And these aren't some obscure, hard-to-find passages. They're foundational events hidden in plain sight. Okay, so the very first foundation is laid right at the beginning of Jesus' life, and it tackles this huge question: who is this salvation actually for?
So, picture this. We're in the Jerusalem temple. Joseph and Mary bring in the infant Jesus, just like they're supposed to. And there, they meet this guy, Simeon. He's a righteous man, and the Holy Spirit had promised him he wouldn't die before he saw the Messiah. He takes this tiny baby in his arms, and what he says next is, well, it's revolutionary.
He says out loud that this child, this salvation that he's holding, isn't just for Israel. He calls Jesus a light for revelation to the Gentiles, which means everyone else, all the non-Jews. Now you got to understand, for the people hearing this back then, this was an absolute bombshell.
And that podcast is just so important. See, up to this point, Gentiles, non-Jews, were basically seen as outsiders. They were kind of without God and without hope in the world. Simeon's prophecy here signals this massive shift. The people of God were now going to be universal, Jews and Gentiles, together as equals. So boom, there's our first pillar. The church is for everyone.
So the church is for everyone. Got it. That brings us right to the second foundation, which is all about the core mission of the church. This next story kind of shifts our focus from who the church is for to what the church is supposed to do.
The story is so simple, but man, is it powerful. You've got Simon Peter and his crew, professional fishermen, who've been out all night and have caught nothing. Zilch. Then Jesus, a carpenter, tells them to go try again out in the deep water. Simon's skeptical, but he does it anyway. And the result? It's insane. Their nets start breaking, the boats are about to sink. It's just an overwhelming number of fish. And right then, Jesus gives them the real point of the miracle. From now on, you will be catching people.
And get this, their response is immediate, and it is total. They leave everything, the biggest catch of their lives, their boats, their entire way of making a living. They just drop it all to follow him. The mission of catching people, of evangelism, becomes their new #1 priority. And right there, that establishes the second pillar. The church is a people on a mission.
Okay, so the church is universal and it's evangelistic. But what kind of people actually make up this community? Are they supposed to be perfect, super self-righteous? Well, this third foundation reveals the core character of the church, and it's maybe a little surprising.
All right, so Jesus is at a dinner party. He's at the house of a Pharisee, one of the super strict religious guys named Simon. And all of a sudden, this woman, who has a reputation around town as a sinner, walks in. She starts weeping at Jesus' feet and anoints them with this really expensive perfume. The host, Simon, is just horrified. He's thinking to himself, if this guy were a real prophet, he would know what kind of woman is touching him.
Now Jesus, knowing exactly what Simon's thinking, tells him this quick little story. There's a moneylender with 2 debtors. One owes him 500 denarii, we're talking nearly 2 years' wages. The other owes 50, so about 2 months' wages. And the moneylender just graciously cancels both their debts, wipes them clean.
Then Jesus turns to Simon and asks him a really simple question. So which one of them is going to love him more? And Simon, of course, gets it right. He says, well, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt canceled.
And here's the punchline. This is so crucial. Jesus explains that this woman's huge display of love isn't the reason she was forgiven, it's the result of it. Her deep, profound gratitude flows from understanding just how massive a debt she's been forgiven. And that right there defines the third pillar. The church isn't a community of the righteous, it's a community of forgiven sinners who love a whole lot because they've been forgiven a whole lot.
All right, this brings us to our fourth and final foundation. We know who the church is for, we know what it does, and we know who it's made of. But what does it ask of its members? I mean, what's the level of commitment we're talking about here?
Jesus lays out these 3 demands, and you can't separate them. First, you have to deny yourself, which means putting God's will way ahead of your own, trusting Him completely. Second, take up your cross daily. And third, follow me. You have to continuously walk in his footsteps.
Now, we really got to unpack that phrase, take up your cross. This wasn't about carrying some minor burden. In the Roman world, a person carrying a cross meant one thing and one thing only. They were walking to their own execution. So Jesus uses it as this powerful metaphor for a daily mindset, living as if you've already been sentenced to death, dying to your own agenda so you can live completely for God's.
And here's this incredible paradox. Jesus says that if you try to save your life, to live it for yourself, you're ultimately going to lose it. But the person who's willing to lose their life in service to him, that's the person who will find true, everlasting life. It's this wild, upside-down idea.
So, let's put it all together. There we have it, the 4 foundational pillars from the Gospel of Luke, a church that is universal for everybody. It's evangelistic, with a mission to fulfill. It's made up of forgiven sinners who are just overflowing with gratitude. And it's made of dedicated disciples who are committed to this life of daily self-denial.
Dr. Peterson's analysis gives us this incredibly clear blueprint, one that's almost 2,000 years old. And it leaves all of us with a really critical question to think about. If these are the original foundations, what are we building on top of them today?